Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome into 104.3 The Fans Coffee Break. DMac, Will Peterson joining us today on this Monday. We have to talk about Nikola freaking Jokic, you guys. Oh my goodness, DMac, I know you were at the game last night. Incredible stat line coming from him. It's just like every single time you watch him go out there, you never know what you're going to get. He finishes with 40, 27, and a 10 line. Wilt Chamberlain is the only other player in NBA history to have as many points, rebounds, and assists in a game. He did it 4 times, you guys. That's a crazy stat line. It is so good. Nikola Jokic, we love you here in Denver.
Well, it's complicated because think about 20 rebounds in the first half. That means it's 20 missed shots. Mm-hmm. And the reason why they're missed shots, first of all, the Hornets aren't, very good. Second of all, Denver was playing just better perimeter defense, at least in the first half, better than what they have been. And the rebounds were just kind of falling to Jokic. He didn't have to do all that much work to get them. So, okay, sometimes you just get them because the rest of your teammates play better defense and, you're tall. that happens. And that more or less was the first half. But what about the 40 points? What about the 10 assists? I mean, how does that happen? And this is where you just get into this bizarre world of brilliance with Nikola Jokic. Michael Malone after the game was actually really pleased with their defensive performance because they kept their three-point shooting percentage to opponents down to 31%. It had been at 39%. They kept their field goal percentage, I think, to 42%. I think it had been about 47, 48. So believe it or not, even though they gave up 115 points, this was one of their better defensive games that they've had, according to Michael Malone. And we found out Jamal Murray has soreness in his knee, wasn't even going to play, and kind of just battled through it and asked to battle through it. And that got all the respect of Michael Malone. They were up 14 guys, though, in the beginning of the fourth quarter. And the problem is the bench right now for the Nuggets just stinks. They are terrible. Bones Highland, as much as we love Bones, and we do, he's not consistent. And when he's on, it's fabulous. But there's so many nights where he's not on. DeAndre Jordan is just a waste of time. They've got to look to improve that particular position. I like the effort Christian Brown gave them. I thought that was all right. But they just got to get more. I mean, they are minus everywhere when it comes to their bench. So you did get an incredible individual performance by Jokic, spurred on by good first half defense. But guys, they fell apart in the fourth quarter and we're hanging on for dear life.
A couple thoughts here. So first of all, this is the second time in 3 weeks on a Monday that the Broncos are not leading the talk around Denver, right? Think about that. 3 weeks ago, it was Prime in Boulder in his press conference. And last night it was Nikola Jokic making history. Anytime you look up, it feels like Nikola Jokic can be in the same conversation with Wilt Chamberlain. And he did that last night. And when you're in that conversation, you're truly special. I wrote the story last night at denverfan.com and said, on any given night, this guy can break a record.
Oh, yeah.
Right? We always have to be on Jokic watch because you never know what's going to happen. And, Rachel, I know we have plenty of Broncos, but I just wanted to point that out, that this night from Jokic was that good, that special. He leads it. DMac was there, and to all of DMac's points, I don't think it's last year's team where it's Jokic in the end of the world, but it's a little too much like last year's team for my liking, that you need Jokic to go for 40, 27, and 10 to beat the completely hapless Hornets.
Yeah, you're up by 14 to start the fourth quarter. All you need to do is keep pace or maybe stretch the lead to 2 or 4 points. And Jokic never gets off the bench for the fourth quarter. And Michael Malone has said there's a greater benefit for the long haul for there to be rest for Jokic and the starters in the fourth quarter. He had to put him back in. Had no choice. And it took everything they had down the, and it was a weird game too, because like KCP was good. Aaron Gordon was good. It was like everybody was good except for even Jamal Murray. He wasn't scoring, but he did have 11 assists. So, it was just an odd game that the bench is so bad and Jokic is so good. Can you seriously imagine if Jokic played 38 minutes a game? I mean, it would be stunning. And in terms of the MVP conversation, it is just absurd that he's not front and center once again. He's not less than. They're one game out of first place in the Western Conference, and we'll see what happens with Memphis on Tuesday. No, Jokic, again, back-to-back back-to-back MVP so far this year, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, I would love to see that, but I just don't think it will happen. And I just think it's big around the national conversation. It sucks because we're seeing like such terrific. Go ahead.
Well, if he puts up 40, 27,
Right.
10, Rachel, it's gonna have like that's the thing is I'm with you, but like if he keeps doing nights like that, it's gonna be impossible to ignore.
I will say this,
but let's think of how many games.
If they play better perimeter defense and the bench sucks, Nikola Jokic will win the MVP yet again because you're gonna have to have nights like last night to beat the 7-win Hornets, who stink. Stink. I'm telling you, they stink. And LaMelo Ball has never seen a shot he doesn't like. I mean, he makes some crazy shots, but he puts them up left and right, and he's the best thing they got going. So that's a bad team. So again, you play good perimeter defense. The bench stinks. Jokic wins the MVP.
Maybe you'd have to always carry. Yeah, he only got one vote for first place.
Stupid.
No, but Rachel, I want to hear the rest of your point. Like, you just don't think it's going to happen. You just don't think they'll give him the award.
No, I think last year we thought it was going to be a stretch, and so for a back-to-back, I feel like is more realistic than back-to-back-to-back. Jake, you have to look it up. Has anyone ever won back-to-back-to-back? Like,
yeah.
Who is it?
I want to say it's Magic Johnson, but I'm not. I'm not sure about
Larry Bird. Larry Bird.
Did Larry Bird win it 3 times in a row? Okay.
Larry Bird. That's what Jake just said.
So,
and it's not taking away anything from Jokic. I just don't think that the NBA, again, we talk all the time how disrespected here in Denver it comes down to this NBA team with the Nuggets and how they don't get the national discussion, yada, yada, yada. I mean, how many games are we into this season? And this isn't taking anything away from Jokic because he's had some incredible nights. But like, this was probably the first night where everyone was like, holy smokes, Nikola Jokic. Like, we're so used to his numbers, right? But I'm seeing different talents from like NBA today and all sorts of stuff being like, wow, look at what Nikola Jokic did. He does a lot of these numbers, left and right for us here in Denver. And I just never see it talked about on the national stage. So, which is why I think it would be so hard. I mean, yeah, Jake threw up the numbers. It was like 785 to like 195 or something like that, I think, total points or whatever. So I just think it would be really, really tough. Not that he's not deserving, because obviously if he can carry this team into the playoffs and make a big, deep playoff run, he's so deserving. But I know it also comes down to the regular season. So that's just my opinion.
We should probably hope for the benefit of the team he doesn't win the MVP, because it means they're more balanced and they have more depth and the bench is playing better. If he wins the MVP, it's because everything leans on his broad shoulders. So it's just that there's nobody that's been consistent night in, night out for the entire team. Jamal will have a great game and then he'll kind of slide down. Bones will have a great game and slide down. KCP, he's really there for defense more than offense, period. But Michael Malone, you got to hit a corner three. And this is why they cannot win the championship, guys, without Michael Porter Jr. They cannot do it. They need him big time. If they get Michael Porter Jr. back, it can help move Bruce Brown to the bench, which is going to help that, that entire unit, because Bruce Brown is such a dynamic player and consistent. And then Michael Malone can do other things. Michael Malone did take blame, though, for the second unit. He did. Teflon James. Michael Malone said it's on him to make sure that these guys can work better, to design things better, to get better rotations going. So he did take the responsibility that he just hasn't figured it out. It's a tough one to figure out. And part of the problem is personnel, too, because Zeke Naji, I don't know. Whose dog did you run over? DeAndre Jordan. I mean, the guy's good for like 3 plays a game, maybe, if you're lucky.
Look at Boogie. Where's Boogie Cousins?
Boogie's out
Boogie
there.
A call.
Boogie's there.
Give him a call. Give Boogie a call, because
I agree.
Boogie was good in those playoffs last year. And I know you heard about the locker room stuff and the issues there, but Boogie is such a better player than DeAndre Jordan. It's not even close.
Yeah,
I think they should probably call Boogie.
They want Jokic to be something leadership-wise he's not. And he's not going to be. So, but if Jokic doesn't like Boogie, there's no way Boogie's coming here. I'll tell you that. And that actually may be the case. That I'm starting to think that's more of the case than anything, that there's just a clash personality-wise with those two dudes. Because I'll give you that. There's no way this team is better with DeAndre Jordan than Boogie Cousins. Zero way. And Jeff Green, we're going to lean on. I love Jeff Green. I think he's awesome. But dude is Methuselah. I mean, you know, that's the guy we're going to lean on. So they got to make a couple moves here. They do.
That's why, in my personal opinion, I don't think they're a championship team right now.
Not yet.
I mean, Jokic puts up numbers like that and you win by 4 points. Are you kidding me? Like, they should have won by 25 at least or something crazy. And we talk about Jamal Murray having to be that star. I know MPJ is out, hopefully getting him back in 10 days or so. But I mean, he needs help, man. It's tough to watch and be like, all right, Jokic, I'm sorry you have to go out there every single night again for this season and have to carry this team on your back and only win by 4 points. Like you said, he should not be going back in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I agree. And I think Jamal Murray is having a Cortland Sutton sort of rebound year where he's out there, he's playing, he's just not the same guy. And so you are going to have good games, but he had soreness in his knee. He probably shouldn't have played. You know, Michael Malone, again, gave him credit for gutting it out, and he's really proud of him and all that. So good for Jamal Murray for showing a lot of heart, you know. But was the team better off with Jamal Murray yesterday? I mean, I don't know.
Would they have lost?
But real quick, let's not forget, Cortland Sutton came back from his ACL in, 9-10 months? Jamal Murray took 18 months. His recovery was double that of Cortland Sutton's. They didn't tear their ACLs all that far apart. It was like Cortland in, September, and then Jamal the following April. And then Cortland was back while Jamal sat a whole nother calendar year. So I see the comparison, DMac, but let us not forget Jamal had double the recovery time that Cortland Sutton did, and he still has been very underwhelming to start this year.
Well, that's what I would compare Cortland Sutton's year to last year. He was back. He played every game. He just wasn't, very consistent or all that productive. You know, Jamal can score the ball when he's feeling it, and has some big games today. But you cannot expect consistent games out of Jamal Murray. I would say I wouldn't expect consistent games out of Jamal Murray this entire year. You're going to get great games. You're just not going to get, consistency because things are going to flare up. There are going to be issues. But that's not a death sentence because it's better than not having him at all. Sure. And again, you got to get Michael Porter Jr. back. I saw Michael Porter Jr. shooting before the game, had a lot of time at Ball Arena there, Rachel. And I'm watching him before the game, and I don't know, it looks okay. And then afterwards, it's, 7 to 10 days. From yesterday, another 7 or 10 days. So maybe he's back to that Christmas game against Phoenix. Maybe, but maybe not. But we got to be patient. I think you got to view Michael Porter Jr. sort of as your Gabriel Landeskog. They're going to be in the playoffs. So, let's get our best guys out there when they matter the most. And at least this year, guys, theoretically, we should have all of the best players available for the playoffs. And the Nuggets are going to be in the playoffs. And they'll probably be no worse than third or fourth seed. At worst. They're just going to keep winning these games because Jokic is just so darn good.
Gosh, you hope. Okay, well, we love everybody hanging out with us in the comment hall. Good morning. Troy B says, great article on DenverFan.com. 100% agree. We have to invest in the O-line. We're going to get into that in just a little bit. Good morning from Arizona from Justin. Good morning to everybody. Thank you so much. But we do have some comments saying, how about them Broncos? We get a win. We don't even start off the show because Jokic puts up such great numbers. But we will get into it with Hackett already announcing Russ will start in LA. Was it smart? Or was it rushed, considering that the Broncos got the 24-15 win over the Arizona Cardinals, Will?
I think it was smart. Listen, he already cleared the protocol, right? He made it clear that he wanted to play this week. He talked at his locker on Friday and told the reporters basically, hey, I'm not going to throw the coach under the bus, but I was ready to go, and they wouldn't let me. Guys, this would have created a distraction and a very uncomfortable work week if they didn't name Russ the starter. He was so angry, he went to Blackhawk on Friday night. He had to go to the casino, blow off a little bit of steam. No, in all seriousness, guys, you can't trade for a quarterback who's made 9 Pro Bowls in 10 years, give him a contract worth $250 million, make him sit out against his will in a game he desperately wants to play, and then not let him play the following week on Christmas Day in a standalone game when there's going to be, 30, 40 million people watching? Even though the game sucks, America's going to watch the NFL on Christmas Day. Absolute no-brainer to play Russ next week.
A no-brainer, but to announce, give Brett, sorry, DMac, I don't want to give Brett, his time to shine. He was able to get this team a win. We all know Russ is
yesterday. Brett didn't do much. They ran the ball and they played defense. Rachel, you could have
still got the win. He still was able to get the win. I think give Brett a little bit of credit there. We all knew Russ is going to start next week. I think it was just a little disrespectful to be like, oh, just so everybody knows, Russell Wilson will start next week on Christmas Day. Don't worry, everybody. Are they just really, DMac said this a ton, are they just really walking on eggshells? That way they don't upset their star QB? Because that's the obvious answer. Hey, we know who's starting next week. I mean, he was cleared to come back. In my personal opinion, again, I just think it was a little disrespectful.
The whole eggshell thing with Russ is unbelievable. I mean, you got to make that announcement after the game. I mean, how about just, yeah, hey, that's something we'll look at, and I anticipate, I think Russ will be okay, but we'll see. How about just hey, we're happy with the win today, and we'll move on to the Rams, Wednesday or whatever. I mean, the eggshells around Russell Wilson it's ridiculous, and I think Russell Wilson will have a big say in who the next coach of the Denver Broncos is, whether it's somebody new or they retain Hackett. Big say. And that's what it feels like right now. I just don't know why they think Russell Wilson's emotions are so precious. I mean, they must be, I guess. And when the TD broadcast is talking about he flew in his own medical team in conjunction with the Broncos. Hey, guys, it's a concussion. I mean, we're not doing, laser brain surgery here. We're not doing some sort of complicated procedure. It's a concussion. You want to be careful with it. You want to rest and relax. Why was he playing blackjack and Blackhawk? I mean, what is he doing? You want to do something bad for a concussion? Go somewhere with a lot of lights and bells and loud noises and all that. By the way, whose idea was that? What was that conversation? Do you think there's any way Russ goes to Sierra? Hey, hun, Blackhawk.
She was there. She's in that picture.
There's no doubt in my mind that that's a wife who's got ants in her pants and wants to do something fun because she's sick of sitting around the house. I mean, why in the world would Russell Wilson want to go play blackjack up in Black Hawk? That was ridiculous. So did his medical team tell him to go up to Black Hawk?
Hey, it was date night. I'm not going to hate him for having date night. He and Sierra just wanted to, like you said, get out of the house. Although, guys, there's a wider angle picture that was tweeted at James that he's quote tweeted, and a bunch of people have since quote tweeted. And Rachel, those two security guards that you and I both saw in that very first press conference, one of them's on this side of the blackjack table. The other one's on this side of the blackjack table. They had that whole blackjack table to themselves. It was very clear. Don't get within 3, 4, 5 feet of Russ.
Listen, I'm not saying you shouldn't have a date night either. And it's Friday night. I mean, kind of who cares? It's like a, hour drive from his house. For all the money he makes, he could have just brought the blackjack table into his own home, I guess.
Could have flown to Vegas.
I mean, what?
I'm not hating on Blackhawk, but let's be real, guys. You have a private plane. You could go to Vegas for the night and still make it back before 11 p.m. if you wanted to.
The whole thing was a bit ludicrous because he's recovering from a concussion. Yeah. I mean, all right, whatever. I'm just over all the Russ stuff. I think he's the biggest problem the Broncos have, not Hackett. I think number 2 is actually Peyton, and number 3 is Hackett. And I think that is the order of problems. And they're going to get rid of the number 3 problem first, theoretically, because the number 1 problem, isn't performing the way the number 2 problem thought he would. So 1, 2, 3, and Hackett's 3. So if you all want to focus on the third biggest problem, we'll have at it. But, the third biggest problem isn't going to change things if there's bigger problems with 1 and 2. And there are. So you know how I feel. I would keep all 3 or I would zap all 3. But I wouldn't make it easier for problem number 1, Russell Wilson, and problem number 2, George Payton, to stick around longer. And I think if you zap Hackett, whoever you hire will be here for 3 years. So will Payton. So will Wilson. And that's a problem to me.
Will, I'm curious. What's your 1, 2, and 3? How does that list go in your head?
Well, DMac got the second one right, but he reversed 1 and 3.
That's how I
1
think.
is Hackett, 2 is George Payton, 3 is Russell Wilson. Listen, Russell Wilson hasn't been good this year. I'm not going to claim that he has, okay? But Nathaniel Hackett botched it week 1 in Seattle, had to hire Jer Bear to teach him how to manage a clock, had to give play calling to Clint Kubiak. It'd be like one of us in our jobs if our 2 most important job aspects were stripped from us, but we still got paid. Hey, guess what, Rachel? You still work here, but you don't host Coffee Break anymore because you're so bad at it. Like, that's what they've done with Hackett, right? Like, it just wouldn't make any sense of why are we still keeping him or her around. So, yeah, no, Hackett's the problem. Peyton's the one who traded for Russ. Peyton's the one who brought in Russ. And then Russ, guys, did you see what Brett Rippon had to deal with yesterday in the first half? I mean, come on. The O-line was so bad. That's what Russ has had to deal with all year. J.J. Watt looks like he took a time machine back to 2012. I mean, guys, this O-line is so pathetic. Russ hasn't been good, but he's problem number 3. It's Hackett, Peyton, Russ.
Wrong.
Honestly, it was oh, you're right. Was he doing high knees around the table? I have not seen this picture.
I haven't either.
Right. So, yeah, that's interesting.
So just over the dealer woman's head, Rachel, that's one of the
Yeah.
security guards. And then it's a little cropped here, but on the right side is the other security guard actually looking directly at the camera like, do not take pictures of Russ. It's on James's Twitter if people want to go check it out.
Is he just at a table by himself?
No,
He's
that's
with
Sierra
Sierra.
next to him. Her face is just covered by the blackjack sign.
Oh,
So
okay.
this
I
clearly
get it.
shows-
I get it.
This clearly shows that I don't gamble, but like I thought you're clearly playing against the table, right? Because like, what would be the point of sitting at a table with nobody but people? Yeah, never mind.
Hey, how does that look
You're
like?
playing against the dealer. You're playing against the dealer.
How does that look like any fun at all, by the way?
And
How
it doesn't.
does that look like fun to anybody with Russell Wilson in that picture?
But when you have money, like, what do people with money do? You try and make more money or you spend your money. So
I mean, listen, it's torture. He probably didn't want to be there, and then he has to do math. Yikes.
that would be a headache. But he's already cleared, so the concussion was totally fine, right? No lingering side effects or anything. Honestly, I think it was a really good thing that Russell Wilson didn't play yesterday. I think that he would have walked away more injured and probably had a bigger headache because Brett Rippon got sacked, what, 7 times? 7 times, I want to say. Like that.
He got sacked 7 times. So let's talk about that for a second. So they take out the belly. He gets an eye in the face. And why you just don't have a shield like Billy Turner has, which is smart. I don't know why you wouldn't just put a shield on. To me, that's on the player. But okay, fine. He goes out. He's got an eye problem. They put in Tom Compton, who's barely played this year. And on the first 2 sacks, they just rolled over Tom Compton. Tom Compton thought it was a good idea to block somebody else besides J.J. Watt. Like, nice decision-making. And then Tom Compton just got pushed over. Then they put Wattenberger over there at left guard because, you know, Dalton wasn't right. We knew that Dalton had a hurt shoulder, and he did. You know, he's trying to earn a contract, and Wattenberger was, you know,
Okay, hold on. I'm laughing. Is his name? Isn't it Wattenberg? Or do you
yes,
call him Wattenberg?
you know, we got Wattenberger. We got you know, we got Jared Guantanamo. We got you know, we got all sorts of great guys out there.
I don't know why that made me laugh so hard.
Did I get that wrong?
Wattenberger. Are you thinking of like Whataburger when you say that, DMac?
Yeah, Whataburger. That's even better. We got Luke Whataburger. So we got Whataburger over there. We got Wahlburger. We got Wahlburger over left guard.
I don't know why that hit me so hard, but it did.
It was funny. Well, I mean, people in the comments are saying O-line is problem number 1. Do you guys know how many different O-lines they've had this year, not including goal lines?
130. I think they said it on the TV broadcast. It's up in the, like, I don't know, a dozen or so different combinations. I mean, it's not been great.
Well,
yeah, it's a problem. But here's what you do. So here's what happens. Wait. Hold on. Our very own Andrew Mason took time this morning to count up this number for me. So I want to give him credit. But do you know how many we have?
Okay, this is at any point on any given Sunday during the game. Not starting combinations, but throughout the game.
Not including the packages.
13.
63.
63, good God. 17, you guys. 17 different ways that these players have had to rotate on the O-line. That's crazy. Like, that's actually crazy when you think about it.
Again, you're making the argument about why they're going to keep Hackett, okay? And here's what we don't know. We don't know how much Russell Wilson has been changing plays out of what has been designed. They do. So there may be a reason out there that justifies keeping Hackett. Also, let's not snooze on the Adam Schefter report that says the NFL is throwing $800 million away and moving on from coaches and assistants too quickly. That seems like a bit of a weird coinking thing, doesn't it?
This is pathetic.
You know, I think what the NFL wants is more stability to give more coaches opportunities. If you're just moving on from coaches so quickly, I think it upsets the apple cart in terms of opportunities for minority coaches and, you know, other coaches up and coming. And I think that is bad. I think you do need stability. I think it's ridiculous to just sort of freak out. Why'd you hire guys in the first place? And it also jerry-rigs the process to not lead for an open conversation about all the possible candidates. Look what we're doing right now. We're talking about, oh, well, the Broncos can't bring in a first-time coach. They've done it 3 times already. Well, if you use that as a parameter, we're talking about like 5 guys, and only one of those guys is a minority coach in reality, and that's no good. So I think there's reasons behind the NFL that makes sense wanting stability within the coaching ranks. You know, you can't require billionaires to not fire people. I mean, I get it. But there's a little pressure, isn't there? And it's not just the coaches that get fired. Excuse me, not the head coaches. Think about all the assistants too that got blown out. So you're having this crazy, bizarre migration of coaching personnel just coming and going every year. For every one, the Broncos have like 30 assistants, guys. 30. So, you know, you blow out one coach, you may be replacing 20 other people. I mean, that's insane, man. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be within your rights to make changes when you want, but I think a lot of those changes put people that deserve to have their jobs out of work. So before you do it, make sure it has to be done. And I think this is going to put pressure on the Walton Penner Group to keep Hackett.
But at the same time, and James did a great job yesterday on our post-game show of breaking it down. When you $800 million sounds like a lot, but when you actually break it down, it doesn't come down to that much, DMac.
Yeah, but it takes away opportunity from people that deserve the opportunity and puts them on the move and wrecks their lives. It's really much more about the assistant coaches and the process of getting a more diverse coaching caliber of candidates within reach of the head job and within reach of the GM job, that sort of thing. You know, when you're constantly shifting everything around, it does create instability in the whole, and the whole is the NFL. So yeah, the financial thing is significant, or you know, to James's point, not very significant, I guess. But instability itself just sort of looks bad, feels bad, and probably restricts opportunity, not create opportunity.
Yeah, but I got to play a little bit as devil's advocate here, guys, because guess what? If Vance Joseph had been good at his job, he'd still be the head coach of the Broncos. If Vic Fangio had been good at his job, he'd still be head coach of the Broncos. If Nathaniel Hackett wasn't a total train wreck at his job, we wouldn't even be having these conversations about firing him after a first year. So the Broncos have actually been the poster child the last 5-6 years for opportunity. You mentioned it, DMac. They've hired 3 first-time head coaches. They gave VJ a chance. They gave Fangio a chance. They're giving Hackett a chance. Like, this isn't really a Broncos issue.
Time out. 2018, VJ was the coach, right?
Yes.
Yeah. What if the Broncos did what they should have and drafted Josh Allen, not Bradley Chubb?
Josh Allen would just be a guy in the NFL. He would not be MVP candidate Josh Allen.
That's AIS, assumed incompetence syndrome. Very dangerous to assume that everything else would have happened exactly the same when you were to do something radically different. I'd make the argument, had they drafted Josh Allen, they would have organized everything around him and it would have worked because he's too big of a talent. And VJ may be your head coach right now. So a lot of coaches just get banged because of incompetent decisions from up above them. How much free reign or ability was VJ ever really given? with the Denver Broncos. He was handcuffed from the start.
Yeah, but DMac, they were losing games like 50-20 on a weekly basis. That
Again,
season was absolutely miserable.
Will, they're the organization that thought Bradley Chubb was a better option than Josh Allen. Of course they lost games big time. If they can make that stupid of a decision, what other dumb decisions were they making? And it turns out a lot. And of course it wasn't just VJ, and you saw that with Vic Fangio. It's not like there was some incredible turn of the tide when Vic got here, and now everybody's blaming Hackett. Guys, listen, I'm not saying Hackett's like a great coach or anything, but to think that this is like, Will, you're saying Hackett's the number one problem? Are you nuts? This is another general manager who thought a cornerback was more valuable than a quarterback. So think about all the other dumb decisions that have been made. And there's been plenty. I'm not saying Hackett's perfect, but you were blaming Hackett for decisions that were made early in the season. And you're not giving him any grace for things that have gotten better. So you're going to take everything that's gotten better and you're going to throw it in a trash can. And you're going to say, oh, magically, we're going to get a new coach who has no relationship with Russell Wilson or anything going on here to start all over again first time around. And that's going to be better.
DMac, outside of the last 2 weeks, they had the worst offense since the 2000 Cleveland Browns.
But what happened in the last 2 weeks?
They had a nice comeback, and then they learned to run the ball against probably the worst team in the NFL.
How was their game management in the last 2 weeks?
Well, it didn't really matter because
yes, it does. You're up
against Arizona. They're up 24-9 late. There was no tough decisions to be made.
You're not giving them any credit for any kind of progress. And listen, Will, I hear you. You want Frank Reich. You want,
I don't want Frank Reich.
Who do you want?
I want Jim Harbaugh or Sean
You're not
Payton.
getting him. You're not getting him. What now?
Why? I was sold that this ownership group could do unlimited things with their unlimited resources.
Give me a plan B, Will.
Go hire Payton or Harbaugh.
All right. Okay. Say that can't happen because there's a million reasons why that might not happen. Say that doesn't happen. Who's your guy?
It's the man who's already on staff. It's your defensive coordinator, Evero.
Okay, who's never done the job before, so we're going 4 times in a row with a first-time head coach.
But I just offered you splashy hires. You told me no. I offer you a first-time hire. You tell me no. What do you want me to tell you? I mean, I'm giving you the different options, and you just tell me no, 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 no. At some point, I need a yes.
Well, if you can get Payton or Harbaugh, I'm all in. That would be amazing because George Payton would now become subservient to the person he hired. But okay, if you can figure that out, I'm all in. Fine by me. I don't think it's going to happen for a million different reasons. But okay. Then you get to the tricky part. You can't get that done now. What? You want Evero. I think that's how you're supposed to say his name. And listen, I think that guy's got head coaching possibilities. So, all right, fine. If that's the way you want to go. But that is 4 for 4, baby. 4 for 4 first-time head coaches. And we really don't know what's going on. And, I don't want to be too picky, but he also has a defense that's been collapsing late in games. And they went from the top scoring defense to the 4th scoring defense. That's not been perfect either. But I like him. He has the right temperament as a head coach. And if you want to I'll tell you this. I would rather go with him. I would. You hit on something. I'd rather go with him than Frank Reich or any of these guys from the outside. I would. You got me on that one. So if you're going to take a chance, okay, fine.
Okay. Yeah. This honestly, that was a really good conversation, you guys. We did get a comment though that says, DMac, we just beat a 3rd string QB on a bad team to end a huge losing streak. Can we stop acting like Hackett had anything to do with it? And I'm curious your response to this.
Well, say that again. So they're saying what? That, it's not that big of a win. Listen, this sounds like I'm defending Hackett, which is insane.
It really does.
I have said 10 million times I would get rid of all 3 of them. I would tank out and be in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes. I guess I'm just bucking up against the concept that somebody is like going to be that much better. Will, I'll give you credit. I'll give you credit of all the names that have been brought up. And I know he'd be a first-time guy. Evero actually does make more sense than anybody else. He knows the team. He knows Russell Wilson. He has everybody's respect. And, I just don't know how he'll be as a coach. But next to, I like it actually.
Thank you.
I'll take that. If
You just
you
got to
have
work
to.
through the problems a little bit.
DMac is super worried about the assistants all losing their jobs, right? If you promote
You
Ibero,
know,
you
you're
get to
right.
keep half the staff, right? So that
Well,
keeps
you're
half
not-
those
you're-
families, through the holiday season. Little Timmy doesn't have to pack up his backpack and move to Jacksonville, so Dad has a new job. It'll be great.
And I like the consistency of, boy, you're being so facetious right there. Like there's somebody talking who doesn't have kids right there. I can tell that. Little Timmy in his backpack. Okay. How about his Fonzie lunch pail from Happy Days?
Yep.
Something like that. Is that where we're going?
He gets to stay enrolled at Wilder Elementary or wherever he is.
Fill up his thermos early in the day, get that all,
Yep.
and he's got his tin little lunchbox. Maybe it's a Laverne and Shirley. I don't know. Could be anybody. Yeah,
Gets
good
to
point.
tell his playground crew they're together for another year. It's going to be great.
All right.
Okay, real quick, and then I want to move on to this offensive line a little bit more. But you guys, did we just kind of come to the conclusion that maybe George Payton is actually problem number one with this team?
No, it's Russell Wilson. But George Payton's number two. Hackett's number three.
What did you say? Well, I'm sorry.
Well, I said it's the only thing DMac and I agree on, that Payton is two, but it sounds like you're saying George Payton is the problem. It's him.
I mean, George Payton has assembled this entire team, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So he's in charge of this entire team. Therefore, he should be problem number one. He's choosing to be a
he
lot.
didn't draft a quarterback when he should have. He assembled a coaching staff that everybody wants to fire. He made a trade that is considered the worst trade in NFL history, and he gave up a contract after that trade that everybody's laughing at now because it's laughable. That is, how do you escape those four things?
Isn't that so? That makes it problem number one.
Because what, you got Alex Singleton? Huh? Really?
Because of the four things that you just listed, we could even go down to the punting situation, you guys. Look at Sam Martin. Good for Sam Martin, what he's doing. And look at what we have with Corliss Waitman. There are so many problems. Therefore, George Payton should be problem number one with this Broncos team. Am I wrong? Tell me one good thing he's done. Truthfully, tell me one good thing.
I mean, there's the Greg Dulcich, the Baron Browning, the DJ
Greg
Jones.
Dulcich got one reception yesterday.
Well, but he's playing with a backup quarterback, Rachel. When he's been with Russell Wilson, he's been pretty good. He has.
Because him and Russ have the best connection on that team. Jerry Jeudy's now definitely in that conversation.
See, now I feel like DMac, I'm defending George Payton. I've called for George Payton to go several times. I'm just saying there is one. I can give you the one. There's the Dulcich, there's the Baron Browning. I think DJ Jones has been good. I do. I think DJ Jones was worth the money this offseason.
3.
Yeah, but I mean, even DJ Jones.
3 out of 10 and 30.
Hold on. You've just made up your mind. I'm going to get a defensive tackle in free agency. Oh, who are the top defensive tackles? DJ Jones. Oh, how much money would it take to get him? XYZ. Okay, I'll spend the money. I mean, that, like, if you just tell me I'm going to spend the most money at the top of the market to get one of the top 2 or 3 guys at any particular position, what, I'm a genius? I did something amazing. I mean,
K'Wan Williams has been a good player this year. Guys, he was the one who extended Justin Simmons. George Payton extended Simmons, not John Elway. So, I mean, there are little.
Oh my God, Will, really? You're going to give him credit for that?
Let's be real. No disrespect to Justin Simmons. Absolutely none. He had a great game yesterday against bad QBs. But has Justin Simmons really lived up to the hype this season?
He has 5 picks.
He's fine. He catches balls thrown in his chest. At least he doesn't drop them. Justin Simmons is fine. The problem is the value of the position. And the tricky thing is, why would anybody want to spend top money for a position relative value is so low? I mean, that's where you try to skimp a little bit. You try to get away with things. But in order to keep Justin Simmons, you did have to pay him top of the market money. And, okay, fine. But it's a safety, guys. He's a safety. I don't know what else to say. He's a safety.
But they won 3 Super Bowls in their franchise history, DMac, and they had really good safeties on all those Super Bowl teams. They had Steve Atwater, who's a Hall of Famer, and the no-fly zone, TJ Ward and Darian Stewart were both very good.
Yeah, but Will, were any of those guys ever amongst the top 2 or 3 paid guys in the league at the time?
I'm not sure, but Steve was a top 2 or 3 player on those teams.
I agree.
It was John, Terrell, Shannon, and Steve.
No argument. And we'd have to look it up. Was he the top paid guy. That's the issue. It's not whether he's one of them. Of course he was. Listen, of all the problems, the safety is not one of them. We're fine. You know, you got Justin Simmons.
George Payton's the number one issue with this team. I'm going with it.
I'm still sticking with Russell Wilson, but whatever.
I'm still sticking with Hackett.
All right. Well, we got some problems.
You're right. That just made my clip of the day super easy, you three or you two, because now we can ask the people who's right, who's the biggest problem with the Denver Broncos. Okay, I do want to move on. This show is going way too fast, but I do have to announce a winner for my coffee bet. I asked people how many no-shows were there going to be at the Broncos game, and the total no-shows was 18,423, and we had two guesses. Actually, I believe one was like 19,000, and we had another one in 18,000. So we got some answers, which is crazy that people were expecting that. So Michael DTC's actual no-shows would be 19,500. And OU fan U2 said 19,454. So actually, by default, I believe it's OU fan U2 will be walking away with a coffee. Thanks to me. Thank you guys for doing my coffee bet. It was really fun. I'm glad we got some engagement on it. But now we got to ask you about probably the craziest play that happened in the NFL this season. And my question to both of you is, we're going to play the clip here in just a second, but is this the dumbest play you've ever seen in NFL history? Roll the clip.
Doc Hollins out on defense. He's all the way back. Stevenson is inside the 30, flips it back. Stanford band nowhere in sight. It's picked off. Oh no! Unbelievable! Oh wow! Incredible! Chandler Jones takes it in and wins the game for the Raiders.
Absolutely insane on that play. I can't believe it, and I cannot believe it came from a Bill Belichick offense right there. Like that's just insane. I can't believe it. So is it the dumbest play you guys have ever seen in NFL history? Will?
Yeah, because they just didn't know the score was tied, right? Like we've seen physical errors that have been really bad, right? But that's just a straight up mental error that we can go to overtime if we just fall on the ground here. It's like they thought in their head they were down anywhere between, 1 and 6 points. They had to scramble and go full crazy lateral to get a touchdown to either take the lead or tie the game. Rachel, off the top of my head, again, we're not talking physical, we're talking mental. It's one of the dumbest plays of all time. I know Leon Lett always gets mentioned. DMac may have some more insight on that. He was a little before my time. I can picture him in the snow and touching the ball and when he wasn't supposed to. But, I mean, it's right up there for one of the dumbest plays of all time.
Well, I don't want to get too deep into semantics, but the play was a draw play. And who was the player that threw the ball?
Kendrick Bourne, I believe.
What's that?
Was it Bourne?
No, it was I forget. Maybe Jay can help us with who the player
Jacoby
was.
Myers. Jacoby Myers.
So the play was a draw play. That's it. The end. They were just running a simple draw play. Now, why they were even doing that, Bill Belichick said that Mac Jones didn't have the arm to throw a Hail Mary. Why they just didn't take a knee, okay, but you see a lot of teams that have done dumb things and turned the ball over when they could have just taken a knee. So it doesn't top that. It wasn't a design play. So it's probably the dumbest individual decision any player has ever made, but the play was a draw play. If you want to talk about a dumb play, look at the Colts lining up when they had a center and a quarterback and all the players were spread. Tom McMahon designed that one on special teams. I mean, that's a dumb play. It's probably the dumbest moment. And I felt bad for the player, Jacoby Myers. I felt bad for him because he stood up there like a man and took the questions. So I know what you're saying. It's like the most I can't freaking believe this happened moment. It was incredibly stupid, but it wasn't a play. It was one player making an absurdly horrific decision. So I'm going to say it wasn't the worst play because the Colts play was actually a play. It was actually designed, and it was a play that was executed as the dumbest play of all time. It's a really bad moment for Myers. Really bad.
So here's a quote from Jacoby Myers. He said, Myers said the instructions in the huddle were straightforward. Just run the ball, go down. And then he said, just trying to do too much, trying to be a hero, I guess. I thought I saw Mac open. I didn't see Chandler Jones at the time. I thought Mac was open and tried to get it to him and let him try to make a play with it. But the score was tied, so I should have went down.
But you got to go back through the history of the NFL. Like when Herm Edwards brought the touchdown back with the Eagles, when all the Giants had to do was sit on the ball, that play, that's a play. You know, you did something incredibly dumb that cost you the game too. I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of people are going to call it the dumbest play of all time, but the play was a draw play. That wasn't a design play. If the plan was to do all those backward passes like an end of the game thing, then sure, I'll give it to you. It was just a player making a really, really bad decision.
It was something else for sure. All right, you both. I appreciate both of you hanging out with us. Everybody in the comments, too. We love reading your comments. Keep them coming. Will, happy to have you on this Monday. I hope you're feeling much better. And we'll be back again tomorrow.
On Wednesday. You get a
James on Wednesday.
Yeah.
James and DMac. You never know what you're going to get with the two of those guys. But, yes, we'll be back tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. Come hang out with us, and we will see you guys all later. Bye, everybody.